Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a genuinely bizarre mystery that connects your very own brain anatomy to ancient reptiles and mystical traditions. It's an absolutely fascinating story that spans millions of years of evolutionary history, centuries of intense philosophical debate, and millennia of profound spiritual practice. And the craziest part? It all centers around a single tiny point hidden deep inside the human body. So what do a European lizard, a 17th century French philosopher, and Buddhist monks all have in common? Well, it sounds exactly like the setup to a strange joke, right? But I promise you, there is no punchline here. The actual answer is a tiny hidden structure sitting right inside your own head at this very moment. Section 1. The brain's tiny pine cone. Deep in the absolute center of your brain, safely nestled right where the two halves of your thalamus join, sits the pineal gland. It gets its name from the Latin word pinea because, quite literally, it perfectly resembles a tiny textured pine cone. But hey, don't let its humble appearance fool you. This little gland is an absolute powerhouse of your endocrine system, and it is primarily responsible for producing a crucial hormone you've probably heard of, melatonin. And when I say it's tiny, I really mean it. In humans, it measures just 5 to 8 millimeters. That is roughly the size of a single grain of rice, but it punches way above its weight class. What's super unique about this little 8 millimeter pine cone is that, unlike most of the mammalian brain, it's not fully isolated by the blood-brain barrier. It actually gets a massive amount of blood flow, second only to your kidneys, which allows it to incredibly efficiently release those hormones directly into your system. And this brings us to what it actually does. It basically acts as your body's biological clock, translating the daily cycles of light and dark into the hormones that make you sleep. When bright light hits your eyes, it sends a strong signal deep into your brain, essentially telling your pineal gland, hey, hold off on the melatonin. But as soon as the sun sets and darkness falls, that inhibition is completely lifted. The gland kicks into high gear, floods your system with melatonin, and tells your body it's time to rest. So it literally ties your internal daily rhythms directly to the physical rotation of the earth. How wild is that? Section 2, the literal third eye. Okay, here is where things get genuinely mind-blowing. What if I told you that this tiny, deep-seated gland used to be a literal eye? I know it sounds like pure science fiction, but evolutionary biologists tell us that the pineal gland is actually an atrophied photoreceptor. Over millions and millions of years, this ancient light-detecting organ literally shriveled up, retreated from the surface, and sank deep into the skull to become the hormone-producing gland we all have today. And the proof is out there in nature. In many lower vertebrates, this structure hasn't retreated at all. It actually protrudes right through the top of the skull as what's known as a parietal eye. It literally sits right on the crown of the head. Now, it doesn't see high-resolution images like our normal eyes do. Instead, it chemically detects subtle changes in light and shadow. This helps these animals regulate their body temperature, but incredibly, it also acts as a built-in, organic, early warning system to sense the sudden shadow of a predator attacking from above. If we journey back through deep evolutionary time, ancient jawed fish actually had dedicated sockets right in their skulls, specifically for these upward-facing third eyes. But the ancestors of modern mammals completely lost theirs by the Middle Triassic period. Fast forward to 1872, and zoologist Franz Leiting suddenly rediscovers this bizarre structure in European lizards. Then, a few decades later, in 1918, Niels Holmgren puts frog third eyes under a microscope and finds sensory cells that look exactly like the cone cells of a normal eye's retina, officially confirming this was, without a doubt, a primitive light-sensing organ. But you know what? You don't even need a time machine to see this evolutionary marvel. If you go out and look closely at certain frogs, salamanders, sharks, lampreys, most lizards, or the tuatara today, you can still clearly see this small gray oval staring right up at the sky from the top of their heads. It's covered by just a thin, translucent layer of skin, acting exactly like a built-in solar panel that tells the animal's brain what time of day it is. Section 3. The seat of the soul. So, with the biology out of the way, let's look at history. In his 1649 text, the famously brilliant French philosopher René Descartes declared this tiny pineal kernel to be the absolute principal seat of the human soul. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a genius like Descartes pick this random rice-sized gland? Well, he noticed that almost everything in the brain comes in pairs: 2 hemispheres, 2 eyes, 2 ears, but the pineal gland sits right in the midline, entirely unpaired.
To Descartes, this unique isolation made it the perfect singular location where the dual signals from our two eyes could magically merge into a single conscious thought. He actually developed a highly mechanical, step-by-step theory to explain all this. He believed that the immaterial soul and the physical body had to interact somewhere, right? And the pineal gland was that magical bridge. He seriously suggested that your immortal soul literally tilts this physical pine cone, and when it moves, it pumps these ghostly fluids he called animal spirits through the plumbing of your brain and down into your nerves just to make your muscles contract so you can walk. It was wildly creative, completely incorrect, but a deeply fascinating attempt to bridge that impossible gap between mind and matter. Section 4. The spiritual third eye. Now, while Descartes was trying to forcefully merge anatomy with the soul over in 17th century Europe, Eastern spiritual traditions had already been profoundly associating this exact region with higher realms for thousands of years. In Hinduism, the space directly between the eyebrows is known as the Ajna chakra. You've likely seen this represented by the tilaka mark worn by Hindus, and it's intimately connected to Lord Shiva. In this tradition, our physical eyes only see the past and present, but the third eye symbolizes true knowledge and an inner vision that pierces straight through the illusion of everyday reality. We see strikingly similar concepts over in Buddhism. Through intense meditation, advanced practitioners aim to achieve the divine eye, an elevated state of supernormal visual cognition that lets them perceive things far beyond normal physical limits. Also, the next time you look at a traditional statue of the Buddha, check out his forehead. You'll see the urna, often depicted as a little spiral of hair or a prominent dot. It isn't just decoration. It's a literal sign representing his perfected wisdom and penetrating insight into the vast universe. And in Taoist practices, they teach that focusing your deep attention exactly between your closed physical eyes opens up a crucially important energy gateway. By maintaining this intense, quiet mental focus, practitioners believe they can gradually expand the mind's eye. Doing this is said to allow the dedicated student to tune directly into the subtle vibration of the universe itself, which is essential for reaching those incredibly advanced, tranquil, meditative states. So we arrive at this totally fascinating dichotomy. On one side, we have objective, matter-of-fact science telling us this is a purely functional light-sensing tool, an evolutionary leftover that acts as an internal clock. But on the other side, expansive, ancient spirituality sees this very same region as a breathtaking gateway to ultimate enlightenment and higher human consciousness. We're literally looking at two vastly different yet equally compelling ways of viewing the exact same space right between our eyes. Bringing this whole incredible narrative full circle, in the late 19th century, Theosophists, led by H.P. Blavatsky, actually managed to merge these two contrasting viewpoints together. Tracking the brand new evolutionary biology of her time and combining it with esoteric Eastern mysticism, she made a truly radical claim. She asserted that our biological pineal gland is quite literally the shriveled physical remains of an ancient spiritual eye. Her argument was that early humans physically possessed this powerful third eye, but as we evolved and got more rooted in the material world, it biologically atrophied, taking our natural spiritual vision down into the dark with it. We've journeyed all the way from the literal upward-staring third eye of ancient lizards, through the mechanical philosophy of Descartes, right up to the spiritual chakras of the East, which leaves us with one final provocative question for you to ponder. The next time you turn off the lights and try to fall asleep, ask yourself, is that tiny rice-sized pine cone resting deep in your brain just an evolutionary leftover managing your daily melatonin? Or is it something far, far more profound? Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and as always, keep questioning what's inside.